Hi folks, how you doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. I hope you're able to find the love and the witnessing the blessings in these difficult times. It's hard, my friends, but we're all in this one together. I'm offering some devotions, of my little bit of hope, I suppose, doing my part, playing my role, being a part of the solution. These devotions are offered as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, for the soul. The title for today's little devotion is Who Knows You? Who Do You Know? I invite us to still ourselves together now in silence. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep, deep within us. I have lit the flame of freedom in this cup of belonging, acceptance and love. We light the flame for ourselves. We pause to be conscious of what makes each of us unique. The colour of our eyes, our hair, our skin, our height, our build, the face that is ours alone, the inner self that's a secret to others. Our heritage of genes and a family of culture and of faith, the things on which we build our lives, the abilities and the disabilities that give us our potential to grow and create what no one else can, the place where we live, the town or the city, the village, coast or countryside, the things that help make us who we are, our interests and our hobbies, our tastes in music, the books we read, the clothes we wear, the things we like, the things we don't like, the things that make each of us distinct. Let's give thanks for who we are as individuals, each one unique as a human, as a humanity, in which our individuality contributes to the whole. So let's celebrate and respect our own uniqueness and each other's uniqueness too. Let's make it so. I'm going to begin this devotion with a short piece by one of my favourites, Mark Nepo. It's titled Awakening Rights. We waste so much energy trying to cover up who we are, when beneath every attitude is the want to be loved, and beneath every anger is a wound to be healed, and beneath every sadness is the fear there will not be enough time. Our challenge each day is not to get dressed to face the world, but to unglove ourselves so that the doorknob feels cold and the car handle feels wet and the kiss goodbye feels like the lips of another being, soft and unrepeatable. Who knows you? Who knows who? Who knows anyone? We all move through life in our own little bubble, circling around each other and life like tiny little planetoids on which we all belong. The spiritual practices that the great traditions taught were meant to turn us into that inner little world so that we can know ourselves well and not live with illusion and delusion. And perhaps more importantly, those same practices were also meant to bridge the gap between the self and the other. Through such practices, what it is to be a mortal human being is meant to be revealed. However different we may seem to be, we are animated by the same breath of life. As we live by the same breath of life, we all know what it is to long, to fear, to doubt and to hope. We all know joy and we all experience guilt and regret. We all know the challenges and the joys, and by truly knowing ourselves and one another, we can celebrate the joys and overcome the challenges. This is the good, I believe, that is spoken of in Genesis 1. Yes, life is very good indeed, if we allow ourselves to truly know it. Yes, very good, but not without challenges. And the good perhaps is in overcoming the challenges together. But where do we uncover these practices that allow us to know ourselves, to truly know the other? We cannot know the other if we find the practices, but we're still alone in isolation. Where's community today? I suspect one way to truly know the other, to truly connect with them, to truly know ourselves, is to know what we are in essence, and what all life in essence is like too, what others in essence are like too. If we know ourselves, then we will know the other, and maybe we'll know all life. The ancient Greeks believed that the ultimate aim for a person of virtue was to know themselves. There were many aphorisms on this theme, such as the unexamined life is not worth living. The key for the ancient Greeks was to know yourself. Now, know thyself has been understood in many ways, but ultimately to know oneself is to know that you are mortal, and to live in such a way fully part of mortal life. In so doing, you will fully play your role in your part in this mortal life. The ancient Greeks constantly guarded against the dangers of hubris, the idea that human beings were gods. Yes, perhaps we're made in the image of the divine, but we are not gods, and it's vital that we recognise our finite mortality. In many ways, this is the beauty and the energy of our lives, the fact that we don't last forever. Know yourself. Know that you are mortal. That's what it means to be truly human, you know. And the word human is etymologically linked to humility. We are not gods, we are finite, we are mortal. We cannot live wholly from ourselves. No one is totally self-reliant, self-sufficient, and none of us live forever. To truly know yourself is to accept the finite nature of your humanity. This is a stepping stone to discovering yourself and your unique place in the circle of life. By knowing ourselves, we not only begin to know life, but we also connect more deeply to life too. For we become less afraid of life. Now you may ask, what is the essence of humanity, of ourselves, of one another? Genesis 1 spoke of humanity being made in the image of the divine, but what does that mean? Well, image from the Latin imagio means reflection or portrait. It doesn't mean exactly the same. I believe this passage suggests that each of us has something of the divine within us, that we are a reflection of the divine, and this brings a duty to humanity to reflect this image in the world in which we live. A real responsibility, actually, to reflect divine love in life, to let divine love incarnate through our lives, to bring divine love to life through our finite humanity. But we reject this, and I think many of our problems stem from this rejection, from our inability to see that we are actually children of love, formed from love, that this divine spark is an aspect of our very human being. And I think we reject this because it brings with it a great responsibility. A responsibility to make our lives matter in the short time we get to live here on earth. It's got me thinking about the soul. What the essence of our humanity, what people call often the soul, what the essence of who we are. It's not an organ or some physical thing, but the essence, what makes us who we are. And I've been thinking about soul, and I love the way that the 1996 Polish Nobel laureate Wisława Szymborska, how she imagines the soul. It's a wonderful kind of description. Something that is only really capable of being summoned, she thinks, in a few moments, when we're fully attuned to its charms, perhaps. So here's a few words on the soul. I love this. We have a soul at times. No one's got it non-stop for keeps. Day after day, year after year may pass without it. Sometimes it will settle for a while, only in childhood's fears and raptures, sometimes only in astonishment that we are old. It rarely lends a hand in uphill tasks like moving furniture or lifting luggage or going miles in shoes that pinch. It usually steps out whenever meat needs chopping or forms have to be filled. For every 1,000 conversations, it participates in one, if even that, since it prefers silence. Just when our body goes from ache to pain, it slips off duty. It's picky. It doesn't like seeing us in crowds or hustling for a dubious advantage, and creaky machinations make it sick. Joy and sorrow aren't two different feelings for it. It attends us only when the two are joined. We can count on it when we're sure of nothing and curious about everything. Among the material objects, it favours clocks with pendulums and mirrors which keep on working even when no one is looking. It won't say where it comes from or when it's taking off again, though it's clearly expecting such questions. We need it, but apparently it needs us for some reason too. Now, I'm not pretending that somehow answers the question of what we mean by soul, but then maybe it does. You gotta think about that. Some of you may well have very strong views as to what we mean by soul. Some may say there is no such thing as soul. Certainly to think of soul as being like the heart is not what most think people mean when they speak of soul. Like so many things in life, we're a bit too fixated on the word. As Parker J. Palmer has said, soul is a word to be held lightly in human hands. It points to the mystery at the heart of being human, a mystery known by many names, whose true name no one knows. A bit like the divine, I suppose. Secular humanists call it identity and integrity. Hasidic Jews call it the spark of the divine in every being. Thomas Merton called it true self. Quakers call it the inner light. Buddhists call it, paradoxically, big self and no self. What name we give it is not that important, I don't think. What matters is that we recognise this essence that is good at the core of our humanity. You see, trouble begins when we fail to recognise the true being in human being, when we fail to recognise our common humanity. If we do not recognise this, we will treat ourselves and one another as objects, as commodities to be used and abused. We need to recognise the sacredness in all of us, of the violence and division in society and ourselves will continue to grow. But how do we do this? How do we begin to recognise this sacredness in our increasingly secular age? Well, it begins by getting to know ourselves and to know the other, to unmask the illusions and the delusions. We need to find, or we need to build the bridge to our true being and to recognise the true human being in each other. To know that, despite the troubles of life, there is an essence of goodness that needs to be brought to life. Remember that however different we may seem to be, the same wind of life blows through us all. We live by the same breath of life. We all know longing, fear, doubt and hope. We all know joy and we all experience guilt and regret. We all know the challenges and the joys of living. We need to truly know ourselves, one another, so that we can celebrate the joys and overcome the challenges. I believe it's up to us to bring the good to life, to make life very good indeed, not only for ourselves, but for one another. So I'm going to end with a question, because I'm quite annoying like that sometimes. Something to think about. Who knows you? And who do you know? Who knows what's at the core of you? And who do you know at the core of them? Something to ponder. But I'm going to end with a little blessing. We need to bless more. We can all bless We can bless with our very being by giving our whole hearts to life. So let's begin by giving our whole hearts to life. Many days we share this life together, and flower and flow with all that is and was and ever shall be. So let's bless life through our thoughts, our words and our deeds, and it will bless us in return. And may the love of God be with us all, in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.